So you're going to want to write out your story and be familiar with it, have an outline, be familiar with it, have your notes with you, don't trust your memory, bring it with you, and the best you can tell your story, you'll be your own best advocate. So I like to liken going to court as going to church. And some of us are more comfortable in church than others. Those who are comfortable in church know where everybody stands, what their role is, what's going to happen next, who says what. Court is a lot like that. People who are familiar with court, they know who everybody is in the room. They know what they're going to say. They know what their role is. And for those of us who step in and we are new to the situation, it's very unsettling. So, try to get to if you're involved in a court proceeding, try to get there early. Try to find out who's who and what their role is. It turns out that the bank's attorneys previously used to sit in the courtroom in the Bronx next to the judge at a little table next to the judge, and they would call your name. And you would have to come up and talk to the bank's attorney. They would ask you for money and try to settle the case. And that would be your day in court. That has all changed. And the bank's attorneys have been moved out of the courtroom. So they don't look like they're court personnel. And the judge sits in the courtroom. And the judge's attorney sits in the courtroom. And the judge's clerk sits in the courtroom. But the bank's attorneys have been moved into another room. So there's not that visual confusion of, who are these people, and do I have to do what they tell me to do? So that's true for the Bronx. I don't know about Queens. I don't know about Staten Island. You might want to find out if you wind up in court. Who are you, and who are you, and what's your job here, and who do you represent? And then there's language. Every theater, every play, every process, every government agency, they all have their own language. And the language in the courts signals to the court personnel what is the stage that we're at in this litigation. We're not at trial yet. Where are we? Are we in Act 1? Are we in Act 2? Are we in Act 3? Where are we? And so words like motions are a written way to ask the court for help. That's all it is. That's what a motion is. Discovery, those are obligations to show the other side your file, because in New York and elsewhere across the US, we no longer have trial by surprise. Everybody's watched Law and Order. You have to show what your evidence is so the other side knows what your story is going to be, and then can figure out how they're going to attack your credibility or the evidence that you've offered. In court papers, we talked about service of process, service of papers. To start a lawsuit, basically the best way for them to start a lawsuit is to hand you the piece of paper. Here, you've been sued. Sometimes they can't find you, or they say they can't find you. So they can nail it to your door and mail it to you. But that's the exception. There's like a prioritized way of starting a lawsuit, and the most preferred way is to hand you the piece of paper. And then, excuse me? The papers have to say your name.
Oh, the server.
The process server has to say your name. Oh, okay, thank you. And should I go to trial? Very few cases go to trial. Very few. Of the 1% who show up, and of the 10% who show up, the 1% who has an attorney, even of those, 0.01% go to trial. Why is that? Because it's so time-consuming. It's so time-consuming. There's a lot of pressure from all sides to get these cases resolved without going to trial. So, in conclusion, and I'll leave you a few minutes to ask some questions. You don't remember anything this woman talked about today. Who was she? What was she talking about? There was so much information. I can't remember a thing. So I'm going to bring it down to a nutshell for you. Organize your records. Go home and organize your records. Know who you owe money. When's the last time you got a statement? Where are the checks that you used to pay them over the course of your relationship with them? Before you have a dispute, it's even better before you have a dispute to get organized. If you wind up in a situation where somebody's harassing you or somebody's even inquiring, it's not even harassment, they're calling, when are you going to pay? We think you owe this, why haven't you paid this? And you're not sure what's going on. Or even if you are sure, you're still entitled to free help. And there's lots, not lots, but for people who can look for it, there's free help out there. There are clinics in the courthouse on certain days, certain hours, where you can take those papers into a lawyer and have the lawyer look at the papers and tell you this is what you need to do next. And it's free. And it's generally in the basement, and you have to ask about it, and it's run by Fordham Law School, and that is called CLARO. I forget what the acronym stands for, C-L-A-R-O. And also, if they say to you, okay, you have to come back. You go for the free advice, they tell you what the papers mean, but you must come back next week because there's a court date in the papers. You say, I want a volunteer lawyer to help me. Is there going to be a volunteer lawyer there that day? And they will tell you, yes, no, go and ask for an adjournment, go and ask for a volunteer lawyer, and they're free. And they'll go up to the bench. They call it the bench. The judge is sitting here. Here's you standing there, and you're asking the judge. And they'll go up to the judge with you, and they'll do all the talking for you for free.
Do you have to make an appointment?
No, but they have to be there working that day. For the volunteer lawyer, you do not have to make an appointment. You just have to ask, because they don't really solicit clients in the courtroom, so you have to kind of look around and see who might be the free attorney and ask them, who is there to help me. And if you ask the wrong person, ask somebody else. Ask the judges, ask the clerk who works for the judge, who's here for who's the free lawyer here today? And
Are they lawyer or legal advisor?
lawyers, but only for that day. And then if you look online, there's something called the Financial Clinic. They'll help you with consumer credit problems. And there's an organization called NEEDAP, and they also have a lot of free information and support for people who are having financial problems. So organize your records, ask for help. If you can't do any of that, just show up. Just show up. Even if you can't organize your records and you don't know who to ask for help, just show up so that when the clerk sitting up front calls your name, you're there. There's the body there. There's the bank's attorney and you. And you can tell the judge the story at that point. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this is about. I need free legal advice. Whatever your story is, a face to your name changes the outcome of the case completely. So I think that's, my vision. My vision for what's going to happen in consumer debt. You know that 90% of people who don't show up? I want all 100% of everybody who gets sued shows up in court. The courts are swamped. They're standing online. They're out the door into the street. I want everybody to show up to advocate for themselves. And for there to be free legal services around these kind of cases so that people cannot be, to level the playing field so that the banks are not dominating so many vulnerable people who need more information. And harassment of debtors is routinely admonished by the courts, that they will not allow it. They will admonish the bank's attorneys or anybody who says, that they represent a debt collector. The courts get behind that and say that they are not going to allow it. And that, I think, is everything I have to offer today. I'll take another question.
Yes, credit card debt. I have my Macy's bill. I paid it in full. I shredded the document. Now I bought something else. I didn't pay it in full, and they're coming after me. The thing is, I'm paying what I have currently, but they're relating to the payment that I had paid in full. So you're saying don't shred anything, keep all your documents?
The more you keep, the better. But nowadays, everything's on the internet, and if you're comfortable on the internet, you can find your Macy's account on the internet and see what the history of payment is with Macy's. But I do say keep your records, yes, keep your records. Yeah, yes.
Basically, my question is, if something's paid in full, and then you have a new payment going,
Yes,
and they're asking for something prior,
right.
you're saying from 20 years ago it's online?
I don't know how far back they go. I doubt that it's,
Not specifically Macy's, I just use that as your
Yeah.
example.
yeah, I couldn't,
So the thing is, do not shred your documents?
hold your documents. I would say 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
but
going
you can go back how far, the debt collector?
It's hard for me to answer specific questions like that. There's a 6-year statute of limitations. So, yes.
No, you have bills coming in and you pay them on time.
Yes.
You go to court because you feel that some of it is not correct.
and you may have lost the case and everything, but they never send you any more bills anymore. They never ask for that money anymore. And you just.
They might have sold it to a debt buyer.
But if this is 10, 11, 12, 15.
Okay, remember there's a 6-year statute of limitations. So after 6 years, the debt is extinguished.
Yeah, this is not credit cards though.
Well,
Yeah.
again, we're only talking about consumer debt, so I'm not sure.
Medical.
Consumer debt as credit card.
I'm going to take one. I can only answer one at a time.
Medical.
Medical debt. So if it's a consumer debt, which a medical debt can be, and the 6-year statute of limitations has run, if you start getting calls at some point, you're going to ask them, why are you calling me now? I stopped paying this 6 years ago, or the statute of limitations has run. And call some of those free resources and say, I need help.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you're saying that if they sell it to a debt collector,
right.
they still have 6 years for when the original debt occurred, or they have 6 years when they get it?
They have 6 years from when you defaulted.
You defaulted,
Yep.
okay.
Not when it incurred, because you could have shopped, 10 years ago, but you were paying regularly up until 6 years ago. And now 6 years has passed since you last sent them a payment. The statute of limitations has expired. It's an old debt in New York. Unfortunately, they still can come after you, but you need to be aware that the 6 months is up, 6 years is up, and if you send a little check just to say, I'll send you what I can to get rid of this, the 6 years starts all over again.
So by being a little bit nice, you penalize yourself.
Yes, exactly. So that's it for today. I'm not sure. I think they have some refreshments are due here for you. Yes.
Is that volunteer attorney in each county?
It's different in each county. I'm not sure it's reached every county. And
Where are these cases usually
in the
occur, in Supreme Court or?
in civil court, anything less than $25,000 is going to be in civil court, and $25,000 or more, it will be in Supreme.
You had a handout for us?
I do have a handout. Yes.
Yeah, I need one.
Yes. Okay. So, yes.
I have financial people call me, the debtors call me, but they never leave a name as to who they're calling for.
Do you have caller ID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So.
never- they leave the agent's name, they leave the name of the company, they'll leave the account number, but they won't leave the person's name that they're calling for.
Keep a log. Keep a log. Start keeping track.
How do I do that?
Just open a notebook and write
Oh,
down
okay,
all
then
the
I can
information.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Okay, because the phone sometimes gets full, I have to start.
Right. Just
deleting stuff.
start a notebook.
Oh, okay.
Keep
All right.
every date, every
Yeah,
phone call.
because They never give a name who they're calling for.
So what I'm going to pass out right now, I have a website. It's called nylifeordebt.com. And I blog about different issues that I think are important for people with who use consumer credit to know about. And I blogged about that federal exempt asset that we talked about, that 60 days and they can't come after your Social Security. So everybody can have a copy of that article. It's just a short article that talks about how the federal exemption works. Yes.
Got enough?
Oh, I think I have plenty.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to start it here, and I'll start here. And also, I would love feedback. So if you have a pen, I'm going to pass out a survey, and if you're willing, I don't need your name. It can be anonymous. Just let me know how this went for you, what you thought, and if you'd like more information. And you can just take one and pass that around. And thank you. That completes the program. If there are no other questions, yes? Yeah, it's an ebook. It's only available on the internet, on the website. So you go to my www.nylifeordebt, nylifeordebt, and it's on the homepage.
They usually have like an outline of what you showed us.
They have the PowerPoint here, and so I don't know if they can email it to you. If you want to give me your email address, I can email it to you. Yes. I'm sorry, you prefer it in print? Okay, so I do have a print version. I don't know if anybody else wanted a copy. Did anybody else? Yes. So you know what? We'll make copies. Is everybody staying for refreshments? We'll ask them to go upstairs and.
Does that page have those people the lawyers and everything? That's not on here.
It's not on there, but I think it's on here. Yes, it's on here. So I'll leave this here. You can, if I'm not here, if I've left, you can ask them to make copies and, yes.
All right, that's what we